Just another silent lens mounted high in the corner. Just another routine security feed running 24 hours a day, recording moments no one ever expects to revisit. But on the night connected to September the 11th, 2025, that quiet camera may have captured something that changed the entire emotional temperature of the case surrounding Yu Menglong. Because when the full CCTV footage was reportedly reviewed frame by frame, investigators, and later, online observers, began noticing details that refused to be ignored. Tonight, we're breaking down exactly what surfaced, why the footage has reignited intense discussion, and what it could and could not actually mean. Stay with me to the end, because you're about to see why this update has fans divided, investigators cautious, and the internet buzzing all over again. Let's get straight into it. In the days following the heartbreaking news of Yu Menglong's passing on September 11, 2025, authorities reportedly conducted the standard sweep of available surveillance in and around key locations tied to the timeline. Routine procedure. Expected. Necessary. Most of the early footage, according to observers familiar with how these reviews typically unfold, appeared uneventful. People coming and going. Normal building activity. Nothing immediately dramatic. But as any experienced investigator will tell you, the truth in surveillance footage rarely reveals itself in obvious ways. Sometimes, it hides in seconds. Sometimes, in body language. Sometimes, in what doesn't happen when it should. And that's exactly why the extended CCTV review reportedly continued long after the initial headlines faded. According to circulating discussions among those closely following the case, analysts began conducting a more detailed timeline reconstruction using synchronized camera angles. Not just one hallway, not just one entrance, but multiple overlapping feeds. This is where the atmosphere reportedly shifted. Because when footage is layered together chronologically, small inconsistencies, even completely explainable ones, can suddenly appear more noticeable. One moment in particular has become the center of intense online conversation. Viewers who later analyzed the sequence claim the footage showed a narrow window of time where expected movement patterns around the residence area appeared quieter than usual. Now, let's be very clear and responsible here. Unusual does not automatically mean suspicious. Buildings have quiet periods. Foot traffic fluctuates. Security feeds often create misleading impressions when viewed out of full context. But in emotionally charged cases, even normal variations can spark powerful reactions. And that's exactly what happened. Within fan communities, discussion threads exploded almost immediately after reports of the full CCTV review began circulating. People slowed down clips, zoomed into shadows, tracked timestamps down to the second. And one question kept surfacing again and again. Was the timeline as straightforward as initially believed? According to observers familiar with surveillance analysis practices, investigators reportedly paid particular attention to entry and exit activity during the final confirmed hours connected to Yu Menglong's timeline. This is standard in any case reconstruction. Authorities look for patterns: who entered, who left, and whether the sequence aligns cleanly with known movements. From what has been publicly discussed, no officially confirmed statement has declared the footage to show definitive foul play. That point is critical. But what has fueled ongoing conversation is the reported level of scrutiny applied to the footage after the initial review phase. In most routine cases, once surveillance aligns with the working timeline, attention shifts elsewhere. Here, however, the continued detailed review caught the attention of online observers. Why keep analyzing? Was it simply thorough procedure? Or did investigators want to double-check something that required extra caution? As of now, there has been no publicly confirmed explanation detailing the internal reasoning behind the extended review. But the mere fact that the footage remained under careful examination has kept speculation alive. And then came the second wave of online intrigue. Some fans noted what they described as subtle timing gaps between camera angles, moments where one feed ended and another began. Again, experts repeatedly caution that this is extremely common in real-world surveillance systems. Cameras do not always sync perfectly. Frame rates differ. Recording buffers exist. But once these observations hit social media, the emotional momentum was already building. Comment sections filled rapidly. Some viewers urged calm and reminded others that surveillance quirks are normal technical realities. Others felt the footage added to their long-standing sense that the early hours of September 11, 2025 still feel emotionally incomplete. What makes this entire situation so gripping is the contrast between professional caution and public curiosity. Investigators work with strict standards of evidence. Online communities work with instinct, pattern recognition, and emotional connection. And when those two worlds collide, conversations can spiral quickly. Adding further intensity to the situation is Yu Menglong's public image leading up to his passing. By most visible accounts, he maintained a steady professional presence. No widely reported public conflicts. No major controversies dominating headlines. His demeanor in recent appearances appeared calm and focused. That perceived normalcy is exactly why every small detail, including CCTV analysis, now carries amplified emotional weight among supporters. Because when a loss feels sudden, the human mind naturally searches for anything that helps the story make sense. Meanwhile, professionals familiar with investigative work continue to emphasize an important reality. Surveillance footage is only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Without full context, including verified timelines, forensic findings, and official conclusions, isolated video moments can easily be misinterpreted. That doesn't mean the footage isn't important. It simply means interpretation requires extreme care. At the time of this update, no publicly confirmed findings have declared the CCTV review to be evidence of wrongdoing connected to Yu Menglong's death. But the emotional impact of the footage discussion has already done something powerful. It has kept the case in the public conversation. It has reignited fan interest. And it has reminded everyone just how deeply Yu Menglong's sudden passing continues to resonate. Because beyond the pixels and timestamps, this story is ultimately about a person whose presence meant something to millions. A quiet smile. A familiar face on screen. A career that many believed still had so much ahead. That's why even routine investigative steps like CCTV review now carry enormous emotional gravity. And until every question in the public mind feels fully settled, discussions like this are unlikely to fade. So now I want to hear from you. After hearing about the full CCTV footage review, how do you personally feel? Do you think the extended analysis was simply thorough routine procedure? Or do you believe there are still timeline details that deserve clearer explanation? What part of this case update caught your attention the most? And why do you think fans worldwide remain so deeply invested months after September 11, 2025? Frame after frame, second after second, the quiet surveillance footage rolled forward inside the review room, and the deeper analysts studied the Part 1 timeline connected to Yu Menglong's September 11, 2025 case, the more the atmosphere shifted from routine to razor-focused. Because Part 1 was never about dramatic moments. It was about the small seconds that people almost miss. And those seconds were now under a microscope. According to discussions that later circulated among observers familiar with how detailed CCTV reviews typically unfold, investigators didn't just watch the footage once. They reportedly ran synchronized playback across multiple camera angles, hallway feeds, entrance views, and exterior coverage, all aligned to reconstruct the cleanest possible movement timeline. This is standard in high-profile investigations. But the intensity of the review told its own quiet story. When analysts begin layering footage like this, they're not just watching, they're hunting for consistency. Every movement is mapped. Every door opening is time-stamped. Every period of stillness is noted. And in Part 1 of this case, the stillness itself became one of the most talked-about elements. Observers who later discussed the review process noted that during a specific window connected to Yu Menglong's final confirmed hours, the environment around the monitored areas appeared unusually calm. Lighter foot traffic. Fewer visible movements. Longer stretches where the hallway remained empty. Now pause right here, because this part matters. Security experts consistently warn that quiet footage is not inherently suspicious. Buildings naturally cycle through busy and slow periods. Human movement patterns fluctuate constantly. Without full contextual data, visual impressions alone can easily mislead. But emotionally, quiet moments can feel loud. And once online communities began focusing on this segment of the timeline, the conversation spread fast. Fans slowed the footage analysis down to fractions of seconds. They compared timestamps between camera angles. They even tracked lighting changes in the corridor environment. What they were searching for wasn't necessarily proof of anything dramatic. They were searching for clarity. Because from the beginning of the September 11, 2025 tragedy, one feeling has consistently echoed through Yu Menglong's global fanbase. The loss felt sudden. Too sudden for the heart to process easily. And when loss feels that abrupt, every small detail becomes emotionally magnified. Inside the professional review process, however, investigators reportedly maintained a disciplined approach. Surveillance analysis is methodical by design. Analysts don't jump to conclusions, they verify, cross-check, and confirm. According to observers familiar with the workflow, Part 1 of the CCTV review focused heavily on movement continuity. In simple terms, did everything visible on camera align cleanly with the known timeline? Most of the footage, by all outward indications, appeared consistent with normal building activity. Doors opened when expected. Lights remained stable. No publicly confirmed statement has indicated the footage revealed definitive wrongdoing. And that point cannot be overstated. But what has kept the Part 1 discussion alive is the reported depth of scrutiny applied even after the initial pass appeared uneventful. Because in many routine cases, once surveillance aligns with the working timeline, investigators shift their primary focus elsewhere. Here, however, the extended frame-by-frame review caught attention. Online observers began asking the same question over and over. Why keep zooming in? Why keep replaying? Was it simply thorough procedure or an abundance of caution because of the case's high public sensitivity? Professionals would likely say the former. Emotional communities often lean toward the latter. And that difference in perspective is exactly why Part 1 continues to generate so much discussion months later. Another detail that fueled online curiosity was the transition timing between certain camera feeds. Some viewers noted what they described as microgaps, tiny fractions of time where one camera angle ended before another fully picked up. Again, surveillance experts stress this is extremely common. Different cameras operate on slightly different buffers and frame sync systems. In most buildings worldwide, perfect real-time continuity across all cameras is rare. But in emotionally charged cases, even normal technical quirks can take on outsized significance. Within days of the CCTV update circulating, fan communities were once again fully engaged. Some voices urged patience and reminded others that professional investigators work with far more complete data than the public ever sees. Others expressed a lingering emotional discomfort not based on confirmed evidence, but on the feeling that the timeline still carries unanswered questions in the hearts of many supporters. And that emotional divide is what makes this Part 1 development so compelling. Because on paper, the footage review may ultimately prove routine. But emotionally, it reopened the conversation. It brought people back to September 11, 2025. It reminded fans just how sudden Yu Menglong's absence still feels. What adds even more depth to the situation is the broader context of his public image leading up to that day. By most visible accounts, Yu Menglong maintained a calm and professional presence. No major public controversies. No widely reported disputes dominating headlines. His recent appearances appeared steady and composed. That perceived normalcy is precisely why every investigative detail, including CCTV analysis, continues to carry powerful emotional weight. Because when someone who seemed fine suddenly isn't there anymore, the human mind instinctively searches for something that explains the shift. Sometimes the explanation is straightforward. Sometimes it takes time. And sometimes, even when answers exist, emotional closure arrives much more slowly than factual clarity. As of now, no publicly confirmed findings have declared the CCTV footage to be evidence of foul play connected to Yu Menglong's death. But the Part 1 review has already done something significant. It has kept attention alive. It has reminded the public that careful analysis is ongoing. And it has shown just how deeply Yu Menglong's story continues to resonate across the world. Because beyond every frame of video and every timestamp examined, this story is still about a person whose quiet presence meant something real to millions of viewers. A familiar face on screen. A voice people recognized instantly. A career that many believed still had so much ahead. And that is why even routine investigative steps now carry emotional gravity far beyond the technical details. Right now, Part 1 remains what investigators would likely describe as a careful, methodical review phase. But in the hearts of fans, it still feels like a chapter that hasn't fully closed. And until that feeling settles, conversations like this will continue to surface again and again. Now I want to hear directly from you. After everything revealed in this Part 1 CCTV discussion, how do you personally feel about the timeline surrounding September 11, 2025? Do you think the extended footage review was simply thorough routine work? Or do you feel there are still moments in the timeline that deserve clearer public explanation? Which detail in this update caught your attention the most? And why do you think Yu Menglong's case continues to hold such a powerful emotional grip on fans worldwide? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read them carefully and your voice truly matters in this conversation. If this continuation kept you locked in and thinking deeper, don't forget to like the video, share it with other fans still following the case, and subscribe to the channel for more gripping updates you won't want to miss. Your support keeps these deep dives alive, and your perspective is part of what makes this community strong.